Hi, am I audible? Good morning. Let me start by just saying that I am no climate expert, nor am a environmentalist or environmental activist. I run a shipping and logistics company, and yet I'm here with all of you to talk about climate change. And you may be wondering what have I got to do with climate change? So, my journey about climate awareness began about 2 years ago. We had been in the shipping and logistics business, and we were one amongst so many other such companies. And we wanted to be different, and we started looking for a differential value proposition. And that's when this climate bug hit me. Interestingly, my industry, the shipping and logistics industry, the transportation industry, globally contributes for 15% of greenhouse gas emissions, which is the root cause for global warming and climate change. So it is a big problem, 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And as so many of us students and startup enthusiasts know, every problem throws up a solution, an opportunity. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. And so that's how we got into the business of energy transition through our own industry, which is shipping and logistics. And I'm here to just share my experience so that so many of us from different walks of life can make a difference to this issue in our own walks of life. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change is for real. Every morning, wake up and come across news, disastrous news of the effects of climate change. There's no single day. You go back home, you look up the newspapers, every single day you will find the news of some catastrophe, climate induced, across the globe. In India, we have seen how flash floods have been playing havoc. I'm sure most of us remember what happened in Kedarnath. And right from north to south, in Chennai, in Bangalore, in Karnataka, east to west, we've seen in Bihar, we've seen how floods have been playing havoc in east, in Assam, in Gujarat. I mean, it has not left any place spared. Sadly, we see it all around us, and yet we are blinded by it, I call it climate blindness. We see it, yet we don't speak up. We don't deal with it. We are all responsible, if not directly, indirectly. Climate change poses a existential threat to our future generations. We have some children here. We owe it to them to leave a better planet behind. So, what is the root cause of this climate change which we often hear? It's a very abused word, trust me. We all know it, but we don't do anything about it. And you don't need to be an environmental activist or a climate expert to do it, right? At the center of this climate change is carbon emissions or greenhouse gas emissions. And all of us know where this comes from. It comes from burning fossil fuels, coal and oil. This is energy. And energy is required for development. As societies grow, as economies grow, we consume more and more and more and more of energy. You know what? It's a good thing today we have electricity reaching all our villages, As, as societies develop, the demand for energy keeps growing up. How many of you have air conditioners in your houses? Raise your hand. How many of you did not have an air conditioner in your household 20 years ago? There. You see, in just 20 years, within our living lifespan, we've seen the need for cooling go up. We've seen the need for heating go up. And it's a vicious cycle, you know. More air conditioners, you need more power, more energy. You need more energy, you burn more fuel. You burn more fuel, more greenhouse gases. More greenhouse gases, hotter climate. Hotter climate, you need more air conditioning. It's a trap, you know. And we've seen this impact of global warming. You know, I don't need to tell all of you. The glaciers are melting at an alarming pace. Antarctica, the rising sea levels. You know, we've seen this global warming-induced forest fires right across from Australia, Brazil. We've seen severe heat wave sweeping all across Europe. I mean, it's people don't know how to deal with it. There are no fans in their houses, there are no air conditioners. You've seen people jumping in rivers, you've seen people jumping in lakes, and that too now they find that they are getting dry. So this whole climate change issue is serious, not just to developed economies, but also to us. And this rising awareness, we've started seeing some baby steps being taken in the developed countries because people are demanding it. You know, you've seen some of these Western countries start talking about decarbonization and energy transition. In simple words, it means not just fossil fuels, but alternate sources of energy. What are these? We all know. Solar, we have abundant solar power. Wind, tidal waves. We've started talking about hydrogen now. And globally, we've seen uh, the passenger car industry start migrating to electric cars. You know, many of you know that Tesla, the market cap is more than the combined market cap of all car companies. We've seen Western societies talk about the concept of walk to work. We've seen increased participation in usage of public transport. We've seen smart cities coming up which are more energy efficient. So technological advancements are taking place. Is this enough? Is it only government's responsibility? Imagine our future generations breathing toxic air. Imagine our future generations being deprived of clean drinking water. Imagine a situation where there is shortage of food because of soil erosion caused by these flash floods and floods. I mean, is this a planet we want to leave behind for our children, for our future generations? We need to act, and we need to act now. And we see now that companies and global corporations have started at least talking about it. You know, you might have heard of this interesting word called net zero. You know, essentially it means that companies want to become net zero emitter of carbon. That's a good change. However, for developing countries like India, it poses a challenge. The unique advantage for developing countries like India is that we can leapfrog. We can leapfrog into using advanced technologies for sustainable energy. What are these? We have already seen examples. Quickly embrace alternate forms of energy. All that I talked about, hydrogen. We've seen our country's leadership also talk about, focus on hydrogen, solar, wind. This is important. And we've seen companies also start talking about it, like mine. But it is still not enough. You have government doing little, you have companies doing little. Unless we make it a people's movement, where each one of us participates, unless we democratize it, it's not going to happen. And we've seen when people come together, we find solutions to most complex problems. We've seen how we overcame COVID with people's participation, emerged stronger. I mean, history is replete with examples of how we can change adversity into opportunity when people come together. And this is where lies India's advantage. Our advantage is all this youth. 70% of our country is youth. And we can spread this awareness. And it starts by talking about it. So please speak up. Please talk about it. Please demand. It's our right to breathe clean air. So in this auditorium, I'm sure we have people from different walks of life. And as individuals, we all must think, what difference can I make? Each one of us can make a small difference, and it all adds up. We can make some lifestyle changes. It's not asking too much, right? I mean, little bit more walking, trying to conserve little water, using public transport. I mean, there are numerous ways. Those of you who are in education, let's bring this topic to the classroom about climate change, about what impact climate change is having. Let's make it an essential part of the curriculum. The Gen Zs, the youth, the students, many of you, are opinion makers and influencers. Let's start spreading this awareness before it's too late. Let's make climate champions. Let's start emphasizing on this subject so that our elected representatives, and I just don't mean political leaders, but in all spheres of life. So my message, friends, here is very simple. If we want to leave behind a planet for our future generations, I just have very simple key takeaways. Let's start to speak up. One, unless we speak up, unless we spread the awareness, it's not going to change. Let's make small adjustments in our life, because with very small adjustments, we can make the demand for this energy come down drastically. There's a difference between wasteful need and a genuine need. Right? Let's just be aware of it. Let's look for, there's a lot of students and youth here. Like I said, the larger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. There are tons of entrepreneurship opportunities if you start finding small problems in the realm of climate change to solve. And this is going to be the biggest, career or job creator in times to come. And lastly, we all need to contribute. It's not government, it's not business, it's not just mine, yours. It's a collective responsibility. So let's start making a difference right here, right now, from today. And when I say you can, please repeat, I will. You can. You can. You can. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.